Good morning, everybody. Miss Sandlin here again. Gonna keep reading Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse. Got a blanket on. I'm a little cold in the house today. It's chillier today than it has been. I left y'all on a cliffhanger yesterday. Dr. Thorne has shown up very quickly. Usually monsters in Percy Jackson poof away once they're defeated, and it takes them a while to, I guess, crawl back out into the world. But Dr. Thorne seems to be a different story. So, Percy followed Talia, Grover, Zoe, and Bianca to all the way from Camp Half-Blood in Long Island to Washington, D.C., which is a pretty far distance to travel. Google Maps it if you would like to see. And Percy was going by Pegasus back, trying to stay discreet in the skies, and he is sneakily following them with Annabeth's cap of invisibility. So that's about all we know based on last chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading for y'all, and we'll see what happens with Dr. Thorne and the rest of the gang. Invisibility cap on, I followed Thorne from a distance. My heart was pounding. If he has survived that fall from the cliff, then Annabeth must have too. My dreams had been right. She was alive and being held prisoner. Thorne kept well back from my friends, careful not to be seen. Finally, Grover stopped in front of a big building that said, National Air and Space Museum. The Smithsonian. I'd been here 1,000,000 years ago with my mom, but everything had looked so much bigger then. Talia checked the door. It was open, but there weren't many people going in. Too cold, and school was out of session. They slipped inside. Dr. Thorne hesitated. I wasn't sure why, but he didn't go into the museum. He turned and headed across the mall. I made a split-second decision and followed him. Thorne crossed the street and climbed the steps of the Museum of Natural History. There was a big sign on the door. At first I thought it said, closed for pirate event. Then I realized pirate must be private. I followed Dr. Thorne inside, through a huge chamber of mastodons and dinosaur skeletons. There were voices up ahead, coming from behind a set of closed doors. 2 guards stood inside. They opened the doors for Dr. Thorne, and I had to sprint to get inside before they closed them again. Inside, what I saw was so terrible, I almost gasped out loud, which probably would have gotten me killed. I was in a huge room with a balcony ringing the second level. At least a dozen mortal guards stood on the balcony, plus 2 monsters, reptilian women with double snake trunks instead of legs. I'd seen them before. Annabeth had called them Scythian Dracinae. But that wasn't the worst of it. Standing between the snake women, I could swear he was looking straight down at me, was my old enemy Luke. He looked terrible. His skin was pale and his blonde hair looked almost gray, as if he'd aged 10 years in just a couple months. The angry light in his eyes was still there, and so was the scar down the side of his face where a dragon had once scratched him. But the scar was now ugly red, as though it had been recently reopened. Next to him, sitting down so that the shadows covered him, was another man. All I could see were his knuckles on the gilded arms of his chair, like a throne. Well? Asked the man in the chair. His voice was just like the one I'd heard in my dream. Not as creepy as Kronos's, but deeper and stronger, like the earth itself was talking. It filled the whole room, even though he wasn't yelling. Dr. Thorne took off his shades. His 2 colored eyes, brown and blue, glittered with excitement. He made a stiff bow, then spoke in his weird French accent. They are here, General. I know that, you fool, boomed the man. But where? In the Rocket Museum. The Air and Space Museum, Luke corrected irritably. Dr. Thorne glared at Luke. As you say, sir. I got the feeling Thorne would just as soon impale Luke with one of his spikes as to call him sir. How many? Luke asked. Thorne pretended not to hear. How many? The general then demanded. 4, General, Dr. Thorne said. The satyr, Grover Underwood, and the girl with the spiky black hair and the, how do you say it, punk clothes, and that horrible shield. Talia, Luke said. And 2 other girls, hunters. One wears a silver circlet. That one I do know, the general growled. Everyone in the room shifted uncomfortably. Let me take them, Luke said to the general. We have more than enough. Patience, the general said. They'll have their hands full already. I've sent a little playmates to keep them occupied. But we cannot risk you, my boy. Yes, boy, Dr. Thorne said with a cruel smile. You are much too fragile to risk. Let me finish them off. No, the general rose from his chair, and I got my first look at him. He was tall and muscular, with light brown skin and slicked back dark hair. He wore an expensive brown silk suit, like the guys on Wall Street wear, but you'd never mistake this dude for a broker. He had a brutal face, huge shoulders, and hands that could snap a flagpole in half. His eyes were like stone. I felt as if I were looking at a living statue. It was amazing he could even move. You have failed me, Dr. Thorne, he said. But General... No excuses. Thorne flinched. I thought Thorne was scary when I first saw him in the black uniform at the military academy. But now, standing before this general, Thorne looked like a silly wannabe soldier. The general was the real deal. He didn't need a uniform. He was a born commander. I should throw you into the pits of Tartarus for your incompetence, the general said. I send you to capture a child of the 3 elder gods, and you bring me a scrawny daughter of Athena. But you promised me revenge, Thorne protested, a command of my own. I am Lord Kronos' senior commander, the general said, and now I will choose lieutenants who get me results. It was only thanks to Luke that we salvaged our plan at all. Now get out of my sight, Thorne, until I find some other menial task for you. Thorne's face turned purple with rage. I thought he was going to start frothing at the mouth or shooting spikes, but he just bowed awkwardly and left the room. Now, my boy, the general turned to Luke. The first thing we must do is isolate the half-blood Talia. The monster we seek will then come to her. The hunters will be difficult to dispose of, Luke said. Zoe Nightshade. Zoe Nightshade. Do not speak her name. Luke swallowed. Sorry, General. The general silenced him with a wave of his hand. Let me show you, my boy, how we will bring the hunters down. He pointed to a guard on the ground level. Do you have the teeth? The guy stumbled forward with a ceramic pot. Yes, General. Plant them, he said. In the center of the room was a big circle of dirt, where I guess a dinosaur exhibit was supposed to go. I watched nervously as the guard took sharp white teeth out of the pot and pushed them into the soil. He smoothed them over while the general smiled coldly. The guard stepped back from the dirt and wiped his hands. Ready, General! Excellent. Water them, and we will let them scent their prey. The guard picked up a little tin watering can with daisies painted on it, which was kind of bizarre, because what he poured out wasn't water. It was a dark red liquid, and I got the feeling that it wasn't Hawaiian punch. The soil began to bubble. Soon, the general said, I will show you, Luke, soldiers that will make your army from that little boat look insignificant. Luke clenched his fists. I spent a year training my forces. When the Princess Andromeda arrives at the mountain, they'll be the best. Ha! The general said. I don't deny your troops will make a fine honor guard for Lord Kronos, and you, of course, will have a role to play. I thought Luke turned paler when the general said that. But under my leadership, the forces of Lord Kronos will increase 100-fold. We will be unstoppable. Behold, my ultimate killing machines. And the soil erupted. I stepped back nervously. In each spot where a tooth had been planted, a creature was struggling out of the dirt. The first of them said, Mew? It was a kitten, a little orange tabby with stripes like a tiger. Then another appeared until there were a dozen rolling around and playing in the dirt. Everyone stared at them in disbelief. The general roared, What is this? Cute, cuddly kittens? Where did you find those teeth? The guard who'd brought the teeth cowered in fear. "From the exhibit, sir, just like you said. The saber-toothed tiger." "No, you idiot. I said the Tyrannosaurus. Gather up those infernal fuzzy little beasts and take them outside. Never let me see your face again." The terrified guard dropped his watering can. He gathered up the kittens and scampered out of the room. "You," the general pointed to another guard. "Get me the right teeth now." The new guard ran off to carry out his orders. "Imbeciles," muttered the general. "This is why I don't use mortals," Luke said. "They are really unreliable." "They are weak-minded, easily bought, and violent," the general said. "I love them." A minute later, the guard hustled into the room with his hands full of large, pointy teeth. "Excellent," the general said. He climbed onto the balcony railing and jumped down 20 feet. Where he landed, the marble floor cracked under his leather shoes. He stood wincing and rubbed his shoulders. "Curse my stiff neck." "Another hot pad, sir?" a guard asked. "More Tylenol?" "No, it will pass." The general brushed off his silk suit, then snatched up his teeth. "I shall do this myself." He held up one of the teeth and smiled. "Dinosaur teeth. Ha! Those foolish mortals don't even know when they have dragon teeth in their possession. And not just any dragon teeth. These come from the ancient Sybaris herself. They shall do nicely." He planted them in the dirt, 12 in all. Then he scooped up the watering can. He sprinkled the soil with red liquid, tossed the can away, and held his arms out wide. "Rise!" The dirt trembled. A single skeletal hand shot out of the ground, grasping at the air. The general looked up at the balcony. "Quickly, do you have the scent?" "Yes, Lord," one of the snake ladies said. She took out a sash of silvery fabric, like the kind the hunters wore. "Excellent," the general said. "Once my warriors catch its scent, they will pursue its owner relentlessly. Nothing can stop them. No weapons known to half-blood or hunter. They will tear the hunters and their allies to shreds. Toss it here!" As he said that, skeletons erupted from the ground. There were 12 of them, one for each tooth the general had planted. They were nothing like Halloween skeletons, or the kind you see in cheesy movies. These were growing flesh as I watched, turning into men, but men with dull gray skin, yellow eyes, and modern clothes. Gray muscle shirts, camo pants, and combat boots. If you didn't look too closely, you could almost believe they were human, but their flesh was transparent and their bones shimmered underneath, like X-ray images. One of them looked straight at me, regarding me coldly, and I knew that no cap of invisibility would fool it. The snake lady released the scarf, and it fluttered down toward the general's hand. As soon as he gave it to the warriors, they would hunt Zoe and the others until they were extinct. I didn't have time to think. I ran and jumped with all my might, plowing into the warriors and snatching the scarf out of the air. "What's this?" bellowed the general. I landed on the feet of a skeleton warrior who hissed. "An intruder," the general growled. "One cloaked in darkness. Seal the doors." "It's Percy Jackson," Luke yelled. "It has to be." I sprinted for the exit, but heard a ripping sound and realized the skeleton warrior had taken a chunk out of my sleeve. When I glanced back, he was holding the fabric up to his nose, sniffing the scent, handing it around to his friends. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I squeezed through the door just as the guard slammed it shut behind me, and then I ran. And that's the end of chapter 9. Percy doesn't think about it. He doesn't think before he does things. Now he's got these 12 dragon men warrior things after him. And chapter 10 is called I Break a Few Rocket Ships. So Percy in more trouble, as always. And this general dude is a leader of Kronos' army and is somehow tied to this Annabeth and Artemis capture. And Luke isn't looking too hot. He looks a little scared, a little older. I guess we'll find out more about what's going on with Luke later on. Hopefully Percy can survive this encounter with these crazy dragon people. I will post another one for you guys tomorrow. Hopefully I won't end it on a cliffhanger either. And I'll see you guys then. Stay safe. Bye.